Hello and welcome back to another episode of Under Center with Jake Russell. I'm your host, Collin Sheffield. Alongside me, head coach Jake Russell. Coach Russell, the Tigers went on the Battle Highway 55, and it came down to the wire. It lived up to every bit of what a rivalry probably should look like in a game. It came down to a half a yard, sadly. That didn't go for Campbellsville, and the Tigers lose it 16-10 right there at the end in the fourth quarter. I know that's a tough one, but Nick Saban always says sometimes it's a lot easier to coach your guys up after a loss than it is a win, and I hope you're finding that to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, great football game. I think both teams played well. It was a pretty clean football game. There wasn't a lot of sloppy play. Other than a couple unique turnovers on our side, a tip pass at the line of scrimmage, a drop pass going in, on the 5-yard line, and that's a catch that CA has made and will make again. He's made some awesome catches. I think about the Roosevelt catch on the wheel route in the rain was a great catch. He actually, that exact same play last year, made one of the best catches I've seen from a running back in the first game against UPI. So that's just just part of the game. Things happen. The ball bounces this way or that way, and they got a couple of those bounces. We had some things happen on our side as well that gave us a chance to win. So it always kind of evens out in the game. So that wasn't the reason that we didn't end up winning. And like you said, probably less than half a yard in all reality, just a few inches from, scoring the game-winning touchdown and kicking the extra point to win the game. And kudos to our guys for just battling when everything wasn't perfect, when you're facing a team that, knew that they had to win the game to keep themselves in playoff contention in the race for the conference championship. And they played that way. They played really well. They played very aggressive on their side of the ball. And our guys responded really well. The defense played phenomenal overall. Other than not forcing a turnover, the defense really executed the game plan just as we wished. We knew that they would be very run heavy and try to limit our possessions, which they really did a good job of in the second half. And then we got the ball back with 6.5 minutes to go, and with 20 seconds left on the clock, we get stopped on the inch-yard line. And tough loss at the time. Was very encouraged in how our guys have responded, even from immediately after the game all the way through meetings yesterday and heading into our first practice. I agree with what you said, or what you quoted Nick Saban saying, and he also even said just a few weeks ago that he believes the best teams in college football history have all had a loss, because I think there's something that you go through, and I told our team it forces you to either kind of splinter and divide in adversity, or it really forces you to come together, and I think that's what our guys are going to do.
Well, we could take a look at some of the bigger players in this one. Of course, Jagger Gillis had a great ball game, 242 yards, a touchdown, those 2 interceptions. Of course, a couple wonky things happening with those. Luke Shepperson had another great game, 9 catches, 91 yards for him, was an inch away from a touchdown. Hopefully he doesn't let that fumble just kind of overshadow the game that he had. And Ellis Reed, 7 tackles, 4 assisted tackles, a tackle for loss. He was all over the field, as he always is. This defense was flying around and quite honestly put a pretty good stop to a Lindsey Wilson offense that rushes for over 200 yards a game, held him to just over 30 yards. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Coach Ford and his staff, once again, they've been carrying us, and this is a game we knew we were going to depend on them, right? As you said, Lindsey's ran the ball really well, kind of the MO for our conference. Them, Cumberland last week, and even looking ahead to some of the teams, really good rushing attacks, very big, very physical teams. And as you said and as you showed there, got some guys that are just playing great football. I think Coach Owens and his coaching and discipline with the D-line has been a difference maker. I think just up front, our team is totally different than, say, this time last year on both sides of the ball. Threw the ball over 40 times, only gave up 2 sacks, and really, one of those is a cover sack, to be honest with you. And, team played really well and very physical, matched their physicality. I think that was a very encouraging thing. There were times last year, to be honest with you, where we were getting pushed around a little bit, where that physicality of our conference was getting to us, and now we're seeing us win those battles on both sides of the ball. And I'm myself and our coaches for sure, and we're going to see our team today out on the field for the first time since the game. we're as encouraged as you could possibly be after a really tough loss. And like you said, and we talked about it, I think it's re-motivated this team. I think if we would have won in that fashion, it would have been this kind of feeling for our guys like, man, we're going to win no matter what.
Yeah.
Like even when we don't play well, you think about U-Pike where we found a way to win this impossible scenario. This would have been the same thing, and it would have almost, I think, really challenged our guys to relax and be complacent and say, man, we're just going to win. That's just, there's no way anybody's going to beat us. And now it's kind of that reality check and that slap in the face that, hey, you can lose. If you don't do things right, it can be the difference in an inch or not, winning and losing. And that's going to be a very valuable lesson for us heading down the stretch.
You all had a little bit of a switch up there in terms of what you're planning for. Of course, it sounded like when we were down on the field, you all kind of had a thought that maybe you would see a different quarterback than what was listed or who has been starting. They bring in Prior Lamb, and the passing game became a lot more prevalent. It's something that, if you watched Lindsey Wilson, you hadn't seen a lot of up to that point. And he had a great game, but I thought you all did a great job of adjusting on the fly. Of course, planning a little bit ahead, but making those adjustments mid-game.
Yeah, definitely. I thought he played really well, to be honest, especially if that was his first start. I mean, that was a really good job. Like you said, there was probably a handful of plays, especially when we were on defense, where they just made a play, right? There were 2 or 3 man-to-man, one-on-one fade routes, and they made some phenomenal catches. He obviously put the ball in great spots. And those are plays our DBs make every day in practice against Dre and Nate and Farrell and Chris and Luke and all these Ashton, all these guys that are all conference caliber receivers. And so we're very confident still in our secondary. And again, I think that's one of those reality checks of, hey, we're in the MSC conference. Every team is going to have great receivers and quarterbacks capable of winning on these one-on-one matchups. And so that's the big challenge as we head down the stretch is there something that you're doing in drill work before practice that really is just very routine at this point? You can almost take it for granted. It becomes monotonous. But that's the time where you're working on those little skills and those little techniques that win one-on-one reps on a 3rd and long or at the very end of the game, whatever it is. And so that's the big challenge for our staff is to keep motivating our guys to get better every rep of every practice. And that's a big motivation and challenge to our guys as well.
Well, even the Tiger offense had a heck of a day, too, putting up over 100 rushing yards on a team that only allows 30. Yeah. So the offense had a good day, just losing that turnover battle at times and coming up just about a half an inch short right at the goal line there. A few seconds. We'll let you take a break. And we come back, we'll sit down with Coach Lane here on Under Center with Jake Russell.
Jason, let's go see your room.
No, that's not right. How was it? Is it good?
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, but with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. And you can change the outcome. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back to Under Center with Jake Russell. I'm your host, Collin Sheffield. Alongside me, Coach Lane, the offensive line coach. Coach Lane, you got a lot of things going on. You're also in the weight room a lot. You're the coordinator, I believe, for their program. So things like that, when you're trying to set all that stuff up, I can't even begin to imagine how in-depth that you have to get as it comes to trying to make sure that these guys are peaking their muscles at the right time, that they're not doing too much, but they're not doing too little. And I can't even imagine what goes into that.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts for sure. You know, we look at like how many snaps a guy played on Saturday compared to, you know, some of our developmental guys that are freshmen. Those guys are on totally different workouts, and then, you know, the big guys compared to the skill guys are doing different things just because, you know, the type of football that they play at their position is a lot different. So, and then obviously the biggest thing in the weight room is to make them hard to break. An athlete that's able to be on the field is more valuable, I guess, than an athlete that's in the training room. So incorporating all those things into one deal and making it fluid is a challenge. And then on top of that, you know, coaching football as well. So, but it's a fun challenge. I embrace it every week.
So the offensive line, we've seen it's almost like a little bit of a rebirth from years past. Of course, offensive line's gotten a lot deeper as well, which also helps. You've got fresher guys being able to sub in and out, and you keep a little fresher legs at the line. But it seems like there's a lot more push up front, and the run game has become a lot more prevalent, and that starts with the offensive line.
Yeah, I think it's an attitude. You know, like from 1 through, we usually travel about 10 guys, but 1 through 10 have an attitude that we want to run the ball and we want to be aggressive in our run fits. And we do have some depth. You know, we got a transfer in Micah and Q, you know, played huge minutes last week. Both of them did, but Q stepped in for Dalton and played great. And then, you know, Q starts to cramp and you have Corbin, a senior, able to come in and play great as well. So the depth's invaluable and just the experience that all those guys bring. But probably the biggest change is just the mentality. Like we want to be dominant up front in the pass game and the run game. So,
what's been one of the things that you're most impressed with your group this season and even in the off season?
Just their commitment. You know, like they came back out of the off season and really, you know, we dove deep into the playbook and like, okay, what are we doing with this look? What's the technique that we're using to get there? And the commitment and buy-in to that was incredible to watch, and you can see it unfold on Saturday. Things look a lot cleaner, a lot smoother, and they know where they're supposed to be, which should be expected going into year 2 with this pretty much the same group. But it's been really impressive, just their commitment and the passion that they bring to the game and the meetings and practice and everything. And then they're just a really fun group to be around. They're funny, but they're also mean at the same time. It's a weird dynamic. But
we talk about Dalton Peets being out, you know, a couple games. He's had some issues, played a little less snaps. What's it like when you lose a starting center like that and you have guys that have to come in and maybe get a little bit out of their comfort zone and snap a ball and then block?
Yeah, you know, Dalton is the coach on the field. Like he's executing all the blocking assignments, making sure everybody's where they're supposed to be. So losing a guy like that is invaluable. What you can tell though is the practice and preparation by the second guy has been spot on, because really didn't miss a ton of assignments in last week's game. So there wasn't a lot of drop off between 1 and 2. But then again, you know, Q is a right tackle by trade. Having learned to snap a ball and stuff like that was a challenge for him, and he's done a great job with it. And then Q goes down, and you're able to have a third guy go in there and execute the offense. It's just it's awesome to see all those guys flourish. So.
And you talk about the role that a center can have in the game and how sometimes, some centers make adjustments as well. They'll call things out. Sometimes it's the quarterback. How much of that in this offense is on the offensive line perhaps to make some of those reads?
Yeah, definitely a lot, especially in last week's game. A lot of the stunts that were going to happen and stuff like that. We knew that going into the game and how we were going to try to handle it. But a lot on the center, and then your tackles as well, picking up the edge pressure. But the guy that's in the middle, taking it from right tackle to left tackle and communicating everybody's assignment is the center. So there's a big preparation load on top of them going into the game, and then just being calm in the situation, understanding what you're seeing is a big deal at the center position. And also, you got to snap the ball to the quarterback, which, if that doesn't happen, then there is no play. So, those guys carry a ton of stress going into game week from 1 to 3. So,
what's been some of the biggest challenges for your group this season, perhaps besides injury?
Anytime you're in a play action type of offense, it's really hard for those guys to give a great run look, but then also pass block at the same time. So you're talking about not getting downfield when you're telling them, hey, we're blocking inside zone, but it's going to be a pass. They in their mind is like inside zone, I'm going to move this guy, and then they have to settle into pass. So that's always a challenge in an RPO offense. But really, they've handled everything that we've thrown at them like professionals. From across the board, Cade to Quan, just any type of challenge we threw at them, they've done a great job handling. So.
Let's talk about real quickly the touchdown candy. What started that? What got that going? And I'm sure the guys got to love that, right?
Yeah, we bring either Skittles or fruit snacks that change it up every once in a while. But I think I saw it on baseball. Like if you get a hit, the first base coach has a Skittle or whatever for you. So just kind of adopted it, and that's what we do, touchdown candy. So
it seems to be a big hit. Of course, you've given us a couple times. We know the change-ups every now and again, and at some points in some of these games, you got to run out, right? There's no way you've got enough down there.
It's been really close, and then every once in a while, the skill guys will get in there and start getting some as well. So we get close to the bottom of the bucket at some of these games. Hopefully we get to be able to do that this weekend.
I'll just say there's no better problem to have than to get to the bottom of that bucket, I suppose.
Absolutely, yep.
Well, we appreciate you stopping by, Coach Lane.
Right.
Thank you for your time.
Appreciate you guys.
When we come back, let's sit down and talk with Coach Russell about the upcoming matchup with Faulkner here on Under Center with Jake Russell.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Never gonna let you go. Never gonna let
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Welcome back to Under Center with Jake Russell. I'm your host, Collin Sheffield. Alongside me for the final segment is head coach Jake Russell. Coach Russell, it's homecoming week. It's also family week here on the campus of Campbellsville. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of activities. There's a lot of stuff on Saturday. You have the car show. You've got all the luncheons. You've got everything happening. You've got homecoming court at halftime. What is it like, being at Campbellsville University for homecoming?
Yeah, you can definitely feel the campus getting more active. A lot of the events and things, even starting really Sunday, the Field of Face event that was out by the stadium, great turnout for that, and obviously FCA and Travis, Coach Atwood, all the guys involved, awesome job with that event. I know a lot of our guys went as well, and so just all throughout the week as we're practicing and getting out of practice and going to and from meetings, just typically in a homecoming week you see a lot more movement around campus. Hey, what are all these people doing over in this area? Oh, they're practicing, for the homecoming court. Oh, there's a, whatever this Wednesday night for the students, and we love our guys to be involved in those things. I think it's part of the student-athlete experience. I think it's part of what makes Campbellsville very special, is that they provide these opportunities for our guys. And I also think it's a great just kind of break and mental kind of escape for our guys, because they're, grinding away in the classrooms. Midterms just came out. So, we're hard on some of these guys about, hey, we've got to get your grades to the point we want them to be at, to where you need them to be at. And then they've got football, right? Coming off this, really tough loss, and now seemingly there's more pressure and a little bit more ramped up that, hey, now we've got to go win and perform really well coming down the stretch here. And so to give the guys the opportunity to do that, I mean, just this time of year, there's a lot more activities. Next week you get into Fall Festival and Halloween weekend and all these things. And, yeah, it does become a little more distracting as an athlete. We've got the Leadership Council that has to go to Fall Festival. We've got, different guys that are involved in clubs and organizations that are going to do things for homecoming, be in the parade, making floats, late at night after they've been to practice, been to meetings, trying to do homework, and then they've got at 8 a.m. the next day. Welcome to college football and the life of a student athlete. It's awesome. It's the most fun time of your life. And then obviously the game day is just very special, right? We'll have a huge crowd. A lot of the alumni will be back. Like you said, it's family weekend as well. I always remember as a student walking to the cafeteria before the game and then walking over to the locker room and seeing the car show going on and just everything that makes it really exciting. Our guys have done a great job all year. Our staff has done a great job all year of at 2:04 on Saturday, our guys will be ready to play.
So how do you think this team will respond coming out against a team like Faulkner, where you got another dual threat quarterback, right? So he's their team's leading rusher, obviously their team's leading passer, but a dual threat quarterback and a team like Faulkner, you got to respond after a loss. How are these guys going to do it?
Yeah, I couldn't be more confident in our guys, to be honest with you. Again, just seeing them around the offices the last couple of days, seeing them after the game, even some of the things they were saying, some guys kind of stepped up and spoke. I would be stunned if we don't come out and play our best game up to date this week. It obviously starts with 3 great practices this week. It starts with great weight sessions this morning that's going on right now. And just really looking forward to that more than anything. I think that's kind of been the message on the coaching staff, is we're excited to see how our guys use this so-called adversity of losing a football game and use that to get better. We're going to be in some situation to win the conference or even maybe in the playoffs where it comes down to the wire, and something that happened last week in that Lindsey Wilson loss is something that we're going to be able to use to hopefully get over that hump and win a really close game down the stretch. And I'm excited. I know our guys are just kind of ready to just get back out there. We're always ready just for Saturday to come. But really, it's going to be these next 72 hours of preparation that I think our guys will attack and do a great job with.
When you prepare for a big game like this with homecoming and all the distractions like you mentioned, of course, you've got a huge crowd. You've got a lot of things going on at halftime, so maybe even your halftime timing looks a little different. You have a longer halftime. There's homecoming court going on. There's dances. There's bands playing. How do you go about even just like with the halftime distractions? Because, you even hear that with things like the Super Bowl, right? They always talk about their guys being out there whenever, the halftime performances are going on. They go, you better be in that locker room. Don't you dare step out there. How do you deal with those types of distractions?
Yeah, those are great points. Halftime is going to be 5 minutes longer. And so even just the normal routine, if we changed our stretch that's 10 minutes every day to 15 minutes, all of a sudden it would feel totally different. So I think the biggest thing is keeping our guys all the energy focused on each other and our team. And at the end of the day, there's going to be somewhere around 150 total plays of football on Saturday. Can you just do one play, right? And can everybody on the sideline be locked in for the opening kickoff? Okay, then do one play again. And you try to make it to where it's not 150 plays, it's one play 150 times. And that's a real valuable lesson in life that we're trying to teach our guys. And whether it's the cliche, one great day at a time, we want to even narrow that focus in even more to just, if we're doing kickoff the first play, let's go down and tackle them inside the 25-yard line and have great field position. Or All-In kicks the ball, 10 yards out of the end zone, everybody sprint down. The first play of defense then, everybody execute their assignment. Coach Brown gave a great devotion yesterday, and he was talking about 11 for 11. In football, if we go 11 for 11, all 11 guys win their individual matchups, we'll obviously be super successful. And I even took that and said, okay, we have 11 coaches on our staff too. So how about all 11 coaches pour in and have a great week, great first practice of the week, all these things. And so, yeah, I'll be honest, even with former teams and maybe a little younger, but we have over 20 guys that are going to go through senior days in a few weeks. And some of these things that maybe would be a worry with some teams or even former teams or maybe teams in the future when we're a little younger, I'm really confident in our guys handling it.
So as a former Tiger yourself, you've been around for these weekends. What's some of your favorite memories from homecoming weekends?
Well, I think the Georgetown college game, my first year in 2014 was homecoming. I remember a great crowd. Obviously a lot of the alumni, a lot of the people that have been involved or work at the university for a longer time. Georgetown is a big rival, the Battle of the Tigers, and I'm really excited that we're going to get to play them with a lot on the line in a few weeks as well. And we ended up winning that game. They were ranked 3rd in the nation. It was a great game. It came down to the very last play, and we ended up winning that game. And just seeing the people running out on the field and just kind of the mood for the rest of the couple of weeks, man, and that really propelled our season. I think we were 1-2, or we had just came off a loss for sure against Kentucky Christian University, a team that we probably should have beat, and then the very next week you go number 3 for homecoming, and to win that game, it propelled us into the playoffs to a conference championship. And that's probably my big, I only had 2 here as a player. That one for sure sticks out. I'll be honest, I can't even tell you the next year who it was in homecoming, so it wasn't as a memorable game, but homecoming's always great. Now as a head coach, and like you said, an alumni who's 9 years from graduating, 10 years from my first season here, it'll be really cool to see some of the other alumni, some of my former teammates, some older alumni that I've got to know through coaching, even some of the younger alumni that graduated since I've been here will be back. Also, family weekend will be really cool. I know some of our players' families will be back and actually be on the campus for the first time. So that'll be really cool to see all those different things going on. And then, like you said, we'll have a football game that'll be about 2.5 hours and almost feel like the snap of a finger, and that's really important for our season.
Well, super excited for this Saturday and wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, appreciate it.
The Tigers have homecoming this weekend. They are taking on the Faulkner Eagles. That game is set for 2:01 Findlay Standard Time, so be sure to be there. There's a lot of things going on campus, so if you can show up early and take part in some of that, that would be great. But most importantly, be there for the football game, and if you can't be there, you can be sure to tune in on the Campbellsville Tigers YouTube page, as well as on 88.7 The Tiger or on the TuneIn app, where myself and Khalil Baker will have the call. So be sure to tune in then, and be sure to tune in again next week for Under Center with Jake Russell.